Today we're going to introduce you to one of our best in-breed technologies, Opengear. Opengear provides smart out-of-band technology, and I'm joined by some of my colleagues from Opengear to discuss the technology in a little bit more detail. So Alan, first and foremost, what is smart out-of-band technology?
We like to call it, actually, rather than just smart out-of-band, which is essentially what it is, we like to refer to it as network resilience. And what does that mean? So in essence, it's the ability to recover from a failure in your network, whether that's in a data center, a co-location, or perhaps at an edge compute site somewhere, to be able to keep the network up and running in the event that there's a primary network connection failure, or that a primary piece of equipment goes offline for some reason. So what does that actually mean? So it means, for instance, in an edge site that might be serving a bunch of people that are now working from home, so it's mission critical to the company. What happens if an SD-WAN appliance fails to reboot after a software upgrade, or a local switch, or indeed a server of some sort, or perhaps a router at that particular site goes offline, or if there's a fiber cut, or whatever the issue may be? Firstly, being alerted so that you know that there is an issue, so you get an alert in real time to tell you there's a problem, so you don't have to wait for someone to call you. And then secondly, the ability to go in and find out what the problem is immediately, without actually having to go to site. So that's what smart out-of-band is about. It came from the old world of console servers, and in the world of console servers, it was connecting to the serial port of the various network pieces of network equipment that you have at the edge site or in the data center. The smart bit is the fact that you can now do it remotely across cellular, so you don't physically need to be there. And if the primary network connection goes down, we can fail over through a cellular connection, a 4G or LTE connection, and still give you access. So as a network engineer, you can quickly remediate, identify, and bring the site back up online. The other thing you can do is quickly fail over to cellular in the event that you've got some mission critical app that's running that you want to keep running. So we can use some of the bandwidth for the remote access piece, and the remainder of the bandwidth for allowing you to continue operation of that site even if your primary network is down.
And Alan, what would you say are the benefits of having smart out-of-band technology?
Sometimes people think of out-of-band as emergency access to the network, and that is indeed true, and that is its kind of primary function, if you like, because it's the only way that you can get to that equipment short of physically sending somebody to site, which obviously takes time. And in the current lockdown world that we find ourselves in, that's got other problems associated with it, particularly in places like colos where you might have difficulty in gaining access. But we can also work with out-of-band, can help with day one and day zero provisioning. So we're not just about emergency access. We can work with the equipment that we're connected to over its entire life cycle. So we can be used for bringing a site up remotely, for instance, without having to have a very qualified engineer on site. As long as you have someone that's physically able to plug us into the underlying equipment, and that could be a cabling engineer, a remote engineer, network engineer in a network operations center, for instance, through our Lighthouse, which is our central management software, is able to, across the out-of-band network, so perhaps we're doing this even in an instance where the site hasn't been brought up from a primary network connection. It might have no broadband, there might be nothing there, it's just an empty building. You could bring all that equipment up, configure it, test it, make sure it's working, upgrade it, etc. That's even before it goes into operation. And then once it's in operation, then obviously the smart out-of-band kicks in from an emergency access point of view. The other thing is, as our CTO says, don't manage your network with your network. And what he means that is, if you're making changes to your network equipment, don't rely on your primary network connection to do that, because if there is a problem, you've got management LAN, for instance, running on the primary network alongside the primary network on the same cable. You can come into problems there where you can actually, for instance, doing an upgrade, software upgrade on some remote appliance that fails to reboot and goes into some kind of boot cycle, and you can't reach it anymore because it's just taking down your production network. So with out-of-band, you can basically fix that problem in 2 minutes, immediately. And more importantly, you'd know about it because you'd be connecting to that piece of equipment that you're doing the upgrade on in an out-of-band network. So even if there is a failure, you're aware of it immediately, because it would go dark from you would see it not reboot. And from the out-of-band network, you could do things like, for instance, it might be something as simple as controlling a smart PDU to reboot a particular piece of equipment that's connected to that smart PDU on a particular port. And that would allow you to just quickly bring that piece of equipment back up.
And do you think now is the right time to be talking to customers about out-of-band technology?
So we're seeing, despite the pandemic and the new normal that we're all having to live with, which is, is challenging, but for us, it opens up a lot of opportunity. Because if you think about it, we've been talking about network resilience for years. We've been around for 15 years. And lots of forward-thinking companies have built it into their infrastructure. But right now, we're seeing a surge in interest in network resilience, because all of a sudden, it's become even more important than ever before. And in particular, where engineers can no longer easily get to site to fix a problem that might have occurred. And also, as people are on furlough or working from home, or maybe won't come back, a lot of people in corporations that are losing their jobs. So corporations are going to be having to do more with less people. So the more that they can automate and provide remote access, that is the new norm, and we play very well into that. So there's never been a better time to be talking about network resilience as part of business continuity.
And Mark, coming to you, how can partners identify where Opengear could and should be included as part of an opportunity?
Well, first, I'd like to say there could be no better time to partner with Opengear. We're building a proactive channel. We work 100% with the channel. As end users look at ways to support their IT infrastructure, remote network management is critical. So it's worth knowing that 90% of Opengear products is attached to Cisco, Juniper, Palo Alto, F5, Arista, etc. So generally, the Opengear solution is part of a total solution. So it's anywhere really where the customer may have a network requirement, an access requirement. You could attach Opengear to any switch, router, firewall, or any product with a console port or has IP access. Should your customers have networking projects, a refresh, or just seek ways to support their technology in ways they've never done before? What I would say is really the key phrases to look out for when your partners are talking to their customers is, do they have remote sites? Have they got a data center project, a refresh maybe? SD-WAN deployments, Cisco, ISR, EOL refreshes, NetOps automation, anything in that kind of context where a customer is talking to a partner or a partner system architect. That's the ideal time really to engage with Opengear. Real key questions really is, what is your out-of-band solution? we'll find many times when we talk to customers, we talk out of band, or we're at a Cisco live show, we say things like, well, what is out of band? Do you know what out of band is? Many times, basically, customers do not know what out of band is. So we have to explain what that is. How do you support your remote sites? Should a switch or router go down? Or how resilient is your network? So all around, all of that scope really is the time when you should be talking to Opengear and engaging with us. And we'll support as much as we can and answer those questions.
And when these opportunities arise, what support do Opengear provide during the sales process?
For a partner looking to engage, as I said, there could not be a better time for a partner to want to engage with Opengear. We really have put into place an onboarding process that gives the partner the confidence to talk to their customers, but obviously we're there to support them, especially in the early days. So, for example, product and technical overviews or training to the partners. We can do WebExes at this time, to train sales teams or technical teams, but that's an ongoing support that will be there as products is refreshed. We also provide that same support for any end user engagement. So until the partner is basically competent and self-enabled, we'll be there to support them all the way through technically. What we will provide as well as part of that is the ability to be able to provide a proof of concept unit should the customer require it, and all during the duration of the period that that customer has that system, will fully support them. So we'll be there and handhold through both the partner initially and obviously the end user opportunities. On the marketing side, we have product collateral that can be easily accessed, found on our excellent Opengear partner portal. You can also find on there white papers, case studies. We're happy to help at the initial stages and provide a complete overview and help anybody looking to use the partner portal, and we'll help them to navigate that. You can also, on that same part of the portal, you can apply for marketing, co-funding, even register a deal on our part of the portal. And as far as sales support is concerned, we're happy to attend sales meetings when we can again, additionally WebExes. We'll attend end user calls any time if appropriate, the size opportunity is appropriate. And we're going to be there for the partner. Opengear, I like to think we're very easy to do business with. We provide excellent margin opportunities. We're going to continue to invest and provide new products and product updates, which will be basically regeneration of engagement and sales. And really, we want to be a vendor that's going to be there to enhance the existing partners' vendor portfolio, and really be a true value-added partner, vendor partner.
Mark's mentioned one or two vendors already, but Alan, maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on the Opengear ecosystem and the different types of technologies that Opengear works alongside. And in particular, we see a lot of people moving towards SD-WAN as a solution now. Is there a play here for partners and Opengear?
Okay, so we integrate into most networking equipment actually. If there's any serial port or USB port on some of the newer pieces of equipment coming out, we fully integrate into them just through straight single cables. Typically, standard UTP patch cord for Ethernet will plug you into most pieces of equipment. We go further than that though, so that gets you into the serial port, which is excellent. I mean, that can be anything from an SD-WAN box, a router, a switch, a firewall. Some management systems actually on the server side have some serial connection as well. But what we do as well is we take you past the serial port, and we actually have the ability to give you remote IP access to the branch. So, that would have been the days when you were doing remote desktop protocol, but this is possibly going over cellular, giving you access to that management LAN remotely and popping you out on the IP address. So you can actually run things for customers. We're very wide on the technology that we support because you could actually add SANs and servers to what we support as well. because once we've dropped you out on an IP port there, you can actually run things like iDRAC, ESXi, vSphere, ILO, all of these management protocols that run servers and give you access to servers at a very low level as well. So that means we actually have expanded past just the network into that. We are great players for newer projects, people adopting things like SD-WAN. They are sort of gently going into the way. This whole new orchestration looks all nice, pretty pictures, but generally this orchestration is done off-site, often in the cloud. And if the SD-WAN box, just like any other piece of networking equipment, can't actually access that, then you are unable to actually do your orchestration, get your site up and running, and provide access. So in light of our having access to the serial port of that box to see if it's actually online, we can actually see and deliver potentially a backup system via IP for that box. So that really gives us an awful wider scope than just being a standard console server, and that takes us into the plays of everyone, such as I think Mark mentioned earlier, all the Palo Altos, all the Silver Peaks. We've actually got some agreements and cooperative with Silver Peak and any of the other SD-WAN vendors. We work very, very well with all switches vendors, pretty much all firewall vendors, the typical ones, F5, Fortinet, etc. And we are a complementary addition to selling those technologies. So selling that technology on its own is meeting your existing customers' requirement for providing a firewall, providing a new SD-WAN box and the new orchestration that it gives. But what we provide on top of that is a backup, access to the orchestration layers, backup to the firewall. If something's done incorrectly, you have the ability to go and fix it again. As Alan mentioned, provisioning. You can actually provide the provisioning, plug in the boxes, even if someone isn't there to do the final wide area network install. And you could have provisioned the network remotely using us, just waiting for the last component to be plugged in, the wide area network, etc., to bring the site completely online. But you'll have 100% confidence it will stay online and it will be online as soon as the wide area network is actually connected.
I think from what you've just said, it certainly sounds that the customer pool is very large when it comes to Opengear, given the various aspects of the infrastructure that Opengear works alongside. But are there any sort of customers that partners should be focusing upon to push out-of-band technology? Are there certain verticals where you've seen a lot of success?
Yes, we do. Obviously, data centers of prime importance. A lot of equipment, often running all the applications that all of their users are utilizing. And obviously, on the back of that, you've got your customers. So you ensure that you have access and you can keep all of your applications running. So we run, very, very big customers who are very data centric, and also customers who are in the gaming industry, for instance, that are moving data centers closer to where their users are, because they can't just house them in a single place like the United States or one place in the EMEA. There's not enough and the latency is too high. So we're providing, as they are building out those, we're providing the infrastructure to keep it running, to maintain the system and to ensure that everyone actually knows what's going on. So when they do maintenance, support, do deployment for security and upgrades, as is a standard requirement these days in networks, as things are found, you have to fix the problems. And that's where we are getting a lot of use. However, on the back of that, we often get asked, sort of what verticals are you strongest in? And the honest answer is we have material that is sort of detailed and provided to help get into specific verticals and think about verticals. But if you have a networking piece of equipment that is either in a data center, in your site, remote, distributed branch offices all over the world, like retail or other, we are very complementary to that network to provide that extra level of SLA, mean time to repair, fixing costs, so that you don't have to have third-party agreements for people providing feet on street in different areas and different regions across the globe. You have to have multiple, often feet on street agreements. And by providing us as a single point, you fix your costs and you actually can get into any vertical, although obviously if there's a project of refresh, network refresh and SD-WAN rollout, I mean, those are very hot topics as people are trying to mitigate risk, and that's one of the things that we offer to all of them is the mitigation of the risk.
We hope you found our introduction to out-of-band technology informative and that you get a sense of the huge potential there is within the market for this kind of solution. The cost of downtime can be immensely damaging for businesses, and therefore network resilience and the ability to remain always on has never been more important. For more information on Opengear and smart out-of-band technology, please get in touch with us at marketing@exclusive-networks.com. Thanks very much for joining us.